All right, and we have a very special guest on the show today. It's been on this show before, and we have some stuff that was obviously been in the news recently to discuss. Congressman Anthony Gonzalez, welcome back. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
All right, so we haven't had a chance to talk about this very much on our show in the last couple of weeks. So we're going to talk about it now. What the hell happened in Afghanistan?
That is the right way to ask the question. So, geez, where to start? I think as a country, I think there's sort of broad support for the idea that, we should wind down that war, at least wind down our presence there. I won't get into whether I think that's the right thing or not, unless you want to. But in all worlds, the way that we went about doing that, in my view, couldn't have been worse. So, the president got on television multiple times over the previous 2 weeks and was either completely ill-informed or was just flat lying to the country when he would say things like, there's no reports that the Taliban is preventing any Americans from showing up at the airport. 10 minutes later, as members of Congress, we'd be on a call with his administration, and we would hear the exact opposite. We would hear there are reports of Americans getting beaten by the Taliban in front of the airport. And so, you had a situation like that. You had a situation where he said, hey, this will not be in previous examples where, we are airlifting people out of the embassy. Well, that's exactly what we did. And then finally, he went on George Stephanopoulos and said, the military will not leave until every American who wants to come home can come home. Well, I can tell you right now, I've got people stuck there right now that want to come home, and they can't go anywhere, and they're being told to hide in their house because the Taliban's going to come get them. And so, time and again, over the last couple weeks, we've seen an administration say one thing, and the reality on the ground is completely different. And so, that's been incredibly difficult to deal with as a member of Congress who's trying to actually get people home, who are relying on the administration to give them good, honest feedback while the Taliban is basically holding them hostage.
So now what? I mean, what do we do when it comes to the people that are trapped there, especially when you have folks in the administration that's not being honest about what's going on? You have the press secretary haggling over the definition of stranded. Well, hell, if you're stuck in a foreign country, adversarial country, and you can't get out, that sounds like stranded to me. But what do I do?
Yeah. So I had the exact same reaction to that. So I'll tell you. So Secretary of State Anthony Blinken gets on television. I think it was 4 days ago, and basically declares victory, which is insane to me, but setting that aside and saying anybody who wants to come home, the Taliban will work with us and they'll be allowed to come home. So I got on the phone immediately after that press conference and I called the State Department and I said, okay, I have 5 people that I need out. This is who they are. This is their names, their ages, their gender, all that stuff. I have their passport numbers, the whole thing. I said, you guys just told the country that the Taliban will help them get out. So you tell me, what can I tell my people? And the answer was, tell them to hide, tell them to shelter in place, and tell them to wait for the Taliban to open up the airport again so they can buy a commercial airline ticket to fly back home. That to me sounds like you're trapped. That sounds like a hostage situation. That doesn't sound like the Taliban is working with us to get our people home. That's the complete opposite.
And why we're talking with Congressman Anthony Gonzalez, and the thing that I can't, why the hell would we trust the Taliban? Why would we trust the Taliban to do anything that they say they're going to do?
Yeah, you asked the absolute right question. I mean, this is all part of my biggest issue with the administration on this is they have put their faith in getting our people home in the nobility of the Taliban, a group that historically and to this day murders their own people, executes people without any sort of trial or justice at all, rapes women, turns them into sex slaves, and gets kids at a young age and basically enslaves them and turns them into terrorist warfighters. That's who your quote partner is. And so I just don't understand this idea that this is a group that we can be negotiating with. And I'll tell you who really doesn't understand it is anybody who fought in that war, because we've been fighting them for 20 years. And so now, we're putting our faith in a terrorist organization that our own people that have been trying to kill us for the last 20 years. And guess what? Deep partnerships with Al Qaeda to this day, and committed to turning Afghanistan back into a terrorist safe haven.
We're talking with Congressman Anthony Gonzalez. And I think one of the things about this right now that's kind of disturbing to me, and one of the reasons why I wanted to be able to bring, an expert and a member of Congress like yourself on the show, is the administration is like trying to turn the page from this issue. And a lot of the statements that some in the administration, including the president, are making are gaslighting the American people about what the situation really is, where we really stand, how many people are really still stuck there that we left. So what's next? Where do we go from here now?
Great question. It's anybody's guess. I'll tell you to give you a sense of how hopeless people like myself are with respect to the administration's ability to help our people is we have private groups now of American citizens that have sort of sprouted up that are nonprofits in Afghanistan that are trying to help bust people out of Afghanistan because the State Department is completely inept. And just think about that for a second. We have people stuck in Afghanistan who have lost all faith in the federal government, that they are willing to trust anybody who says, hey, we can get you out. We have the ability to move you. And so that's the situation we're in. Again, from an official standpoint, what's the administration officially doing? Unfortunately, the answer is nothing. I mean, we've talked to them. We've had briefings with them. We've basically said, hey, here's our people. When can they go? What's the situation? And they said flat out to me, our military's gone. There's nothing we can do right now. Well, we're going to work on it though.
Wow. It's insane. And also we know that there are American citizens that are left over there, but there are also people who worked with us, translators and things like that, who are over there, who are still stuck over there as well. I saw the news reports of people holding their papers in the camera and still not being able to get to the airport when the military was still there. So what happens with those people? And if we're not able to get people out who worked with us, how will anybody ever trust us again if we have another conflict, which we will at some point?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems that nobody's talking about right now, is because of the way we left. Those who fought with us, whether it's the Afghans or our NATO allies, have lost complete faith in us. I mean, there's a man who, most listeners won't know. His name's Tom Tugendhat. He's basically the head of the Foreign Affairs Committee in England, in the British Parliament. Brilliant guy, super earnest, like the kind of person you want working on these issues. And he was in the floor of Parliament, or in the House of Parliament, ripping the United States for what we did, and saying how ashamed he was of our partnership. And that's from one of our oldest allies. And so, there's a lot of trust that needs to be rebuilt right now. And I don't know how it's going to happen if we're just going to leave our people and those who fought with us in the hands of the Taliban. But as of now, that is exactly what's happening.
Wow. So is there anything that people can do? Is there anybody that people need to call, or anything, if for people who want to get involved and want to help?
The thing to always do is call your members of Congress. I will say this: the anger right now is bipartisan, which it normally isn't in Washington. I mean, there are Democrat colleagues of mine who have 10, 20, 30 people stuck. I have a number of people stuck. the highest number I heard is somebody who's got over 50 people stuck.
Wow.
And so, that gets back to this. What's your definition of stuck? The administration would say, well, if we called you and said, go to the airport and, you didn't make it, that means you didn't want to go. What I would tell you is I had somebody who went to the airport with their passport, with their documents. The Taliban put a gun to their head and said, get out of here, or I'm going to shoot you. So, they marked that person down as not wanting to come home. I think that person wants to come home. I know that person wants to come home. So I think there's roughly, who knows, but it's certainly more than a couple hundred, which is what the administration is saying, people who want to get out. And as an office, we're basically reconstituting ourselves and saying, until everybody's home, we're not going to do a whole heck of a lot of other work. We got to get our people out of there.
Mm-hmm. So, what are there any plans in Congress to address this as a body? We still have people over there, and they're targets. They're targets to be killed. They're targets to for hostage situations, ransoms.
Yep.
I mean, they're in really bad situations. So, has there been any talk on Capitol Hill about doing something as a body to try to move this thing forward?
Yeah, right now it's all kind of individual efforts. I do think you'll see a concerted push in the next couple of weeks, because right now we're on recess, but we come back. When do we come back? Next week or the week after? Okay. And I think once everybody's back in Washington, I do think you'll see some increased coordination. But again, we're working with every office. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. I mean, if you have people stuck, especially kids, which a lot of people have kids stuck, wow. You're gonna do everything you can to get them out. So we need to do that. But ultimately, just the way our government's set up, diplomacy will be controlled by the administration and the State Department. And so, if they continue to misread who the Taliban is and put their faith in the Taliban, it's hard to see this resolving anytime soon.
Wow. All right. Let everybody know how to get in contact with your office, how to follow you on social media, all that good stuff.
So I have one Twitter account, which is @Rep A Gonzalez. And then we have a Facebook account, Rep Anthony Gonzalez, with 2 Z's in Gonzalez, no S on the end. And let's see. And then our website, which is anthonygonzalez.house.gov. So anything anybody needs, always feel free to reach out, comment, what have you. And just great to be on the show with you again.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show and spending some time with us and helping us try to make sense of this crazy situation. And thanks for the work that you're trying to do on the ground too, and trying to help get some of these people back.
Absolutely. Good being with you.